Most people we talk to feel stuck. They'll tell us things like, I feel behind. I wish I had more time with my family, or work is draining me. Does that sound familiar? The truth is, it's not that you don't want freedom. You just don't have a clear system to get you there. And without a system, what happens is 3 years from now, you're very likely to be in the same place that you are today. Your kids are going to be older and they won't care that your business was more successful. They'll just remember that you weren't there.
That's why we built the Passive Income Operating System. It's the exact framework we use to design financial freedom for ourselves and for our clients, not decades from now, but today. Now, the system isn't free, but the training that shows you how it works is, and it's less than an hour. So go to infinitewealthconsultants.com/PIOS, PIOS, and take the first step to buying back your time, creating passive income, and designing the life you don't have to retire from.
That's what peace is. It's actually understanding the things that we've done, translating that understanding as well to the other spouse, stakeholders, business partners, adult age children, etc., that they also have that understanding, so we have common language to agree that what we've done is what we need. And then, birds of a feather flock together, right?
If you're an investor or wannabe and you're ready to build passive income that exceeds your monthly expenses, you found the right podcast. Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we combine the wealth building principles of Rich Dad Poor Dad with the power of the infinite banking concept to help you take control of your money and your future.
Join us as we bring insights from experts and from Cameron, as well as real-world strategies and proven tools to help you create financial freedom without relying on Wall Street. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christiansen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. And if you're an entrepreneur or a high-earning W-2 who's building wealth outside of Wall Street, there is a silent risk that you're probably not even thinking about. Most people assume that they have a CPA, an attorney, an insurance policy, maybe even a banker, and that their financial life is handled. But today, you're going to learn why that belief is wrong and why it quietly destroys wealth in the second and even the third generation. Our guest today is David Bull from ARC Financial, and they run and build family offices for entrepreneurs all over the country. And today, we're going to walk through their 3P model that ARC uses to steer families in the right direction for the last several decades. Protection, peace, and purpose. This is not theory. It is the operating system that either preserves or erases everything that you are building. Anthony and I are going to ask David to define what a family office actually is, why most people already have one, but it is mismanaged, and how to think about this even if you are still in the 200 to 500,000 income range. Put the passive cash flow and investing conversation on pause for 30 minutes and listen through this lens. If you do not solve this, the compounding you're chasing is never going to stick.
Cameron, like the family office, that sounds more like a billionaire only myth, right? But, most entrepreneurs, they think a family office is for billionaires. David Bull says that's false. If you already have complexity, you're already running a family office, whether you know it or not. The real question is who's leading it and how well. Now, David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
Well, good. We've been excited. We had a really good pre-interview, and even a little bit before we started, we had some good digs against Cameron. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going. But let's dive into it, David. First question. Most people listening here already have a CPA, an attorney, an insurance agent, maybe even a banker. They assume that that's enough. Why is that assumption wrong? And what silently breaks when there is no true quarterback?
Yeah, I'm sure they also assume that each one of those players are at the top of their game and the best they've ever had and have never had to fire one along the way, right?
Yeah.
We also all talk to each other on a consistent cadence, just call each other up to make sure that they're in good relational continuity and brainstorm with one another. None of them have egos or feel like they're the smartest person in the room, and they always know what's going on with the client's world, let alone their dreams, desires, and things like that. So just wanted to make sure we define what I believe are those assumptions out there that everyone is currently holding. But yeah, I'd say the bigger deal that I'm kind of alluding at to there is that these advisors are good advisors. There is not a secret sauce out there that says, hey, there's a world in which you do not need a CPA or an insurance advisor, a banker, an estate planning attorney, or the other 400,000 attorneys that our world thinks we need today. We do need each of those. The problem is that we need some type of way to align each of those advisors around strategies that actually move the needle in the very specific areas in our life that are in alignment with what brings us peace and ideally what leads us on a place of purpose. And I mean, for sure doesn't erode those items, which oftentimes I find confusion alone erodes peace. But I'm sure your audience is at perfect peace with everything related to their tax return and all those.
David, you mentioned 3Ps in there. Would you mind kind of sharing the 3P model that you and ARC are following and sharing with clients?
Yeah. So, it's kind of like a progression. In our world, we think of the 3Ps in a very specific progression. I know, Cameron, for your hair, it goes up and then it kind of branches off two ways. But our 3Ps, they go one direction here. And so when we think about it, most people are, if you ask them, like, what do you want most out of life? And they would say peace, 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 especially today, since, our kids are addicted to their phones and the world can't agree on anything. And business is hard and family's hard and relationships are hard. So they just say, I want peace, not just world peace, but like, I just want peace in my life. And we actually think that peace isn't the final destination. Peace is the only thing we can see because it's the only horizon that we have. But actually, once you get there, there's a new horizon, which is actually a purpose. What am I called for? What am I made for? What are the things that I'm most gifted at that is not just getting peace in my life, but actually being a contributor? And there's so much in that arena, but the biggest focus is peace. And so over the years, we've kind of laid out this model that says, well, what's a way that we can set things up in a client's life that have them focus on the right things for the right reasons and actually make real progress? And we've come up with this direction of protection, peace, and purpose. Protection being what probably most people try to do. Some do well, most do not. Most advisors play in that arena, which is your tax planning, your financial planning, your risk mitigation planning, your asset protection planning, your organization of your world, being able to find all those files at an instant notice, a collection of your goals of your advisors, a process and a system to make everything work well. So for a lot of people, they spend a lot of time doing that. They spend a lot of money doing that, or they feel guilty about not doing that. But essentially what that protection is are all the things in your world that need to get done, should get done, so that your past reality is not your future reality. A lot of our clients, especially entrepreneurs, I mean, if you've been an entrepreneur, they're probably messed up in the head because who else wants to go into business every single day doing a crazy thing, not coming from generally a place of prosperity, but coming from a rough patch in their life that led them to this place of, I have a better way, I can figure it out, or I'll never do this thing in the past. But what they're saying is, I've worked really hard to get myself to some semblance of success, or I'm in a great place of success, but there's a great fear that that success will get pulled out for them because the IRS changes some code and all of a sudden now they owe a bunch in tax. Their CPA didn't warn them about it. Their spouse doesn't agree with them on the way that they set up their world. Some catastrophic event happens in their life. So protection is simply, what are all the things you need to do to make sure that your level of success today is sustained and that there's really very few things that could happen in your life that aren't going to take you backwards. But here's the problem, is that most people think as soon as they did that well, they get peace. And I don't know too many people that have actually done all that planning. I have met several. And it's funny when I meet with them where they say, I've got the best CPA. I've got the best estate planning attorney. I've got the best insurance team. I've got the best organization. I've got all of these things. And for some reason, I don't have any level of peace. And the reason I bring up is to say, well, you've done great work in doing the things necessary to not make your past reality your future reality. But here's the problem. I bet you don't believe it. I bet that your spouse doesn't believe it. And I bet you're not surrounded by a group of people that have done the same thing and are going in the same direction. That's what peace is. It's actually understanding the things that we've done translating that understanding as well to the other spouse, stakeholders, business partners, adult age children, et cetera, that they also have that understanding, so we have common language to agree that what we've done is what we need. And then, birds of a feather flock together, right? So how are we hanging out with other entrepreneurs that have done the same solid work, that we can that we can iron sharpen iron, that we can get good ideas, that when we get lost or confused or upset, we can see somebody else that can provide us that level of hope. That gives us to a place of peace. And to me, peace is the launching board to purpose, that then all of a sudden, for the first time in someone's life, it's incredible once you get them to a place of peace, all of a sudden you can have a conversation that goes, hey, what's your goal? And they don't sit there and say, not be fearful, have $1 million in a bank account, sell my business. They can actually think 5, 10, 15, 20 lifetime years into the future with a greater sense of clarity and depth. And I know for most people that's impossible to think about, or they assume that's, what Socrates or somebody does, but it actually comes from a place of great peace.
That's some great information. David, let me ask you this. Why purpose can't be pursued in a healthy way without finding peace first? Like, is that order important?
Oh, yeah. And they're balances, right? So once you hit a level of peace and purpose, you'll realize, wow, I feel like now I can do the soul searching and the digging to actually set a bigger purpose for my life, which actually requires a bigger foundation and a bigger sense of habits that create that sustaining peace. And so there's always this balancing that needs to be done. But the reason why I say that is that for a lot of people, when they get going, their purpose, whether defined or not defined, is likely greater than the foundation or the piece that they've set so far in their life. And so when I say we're going in order, what I'm really saying is that there's this general undercurrent, which I actually believe all of us as humans have a natural wiring for a bigger purpose out of the gate than we've actually established foundation wise inside of our life. And eventually we can do the work to equalize those, but then we can also do the work to increase that purpose beyond what that natural wiring was. But it requires us to go through these iterations, because if I don't have a foundation that says these things done mean that I will not go backwards, then I can't have a level of peace, because I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. Is it this person that's going to take advantage of me? Is it this tax bill that's going to take me down? Is it this life event that's going to, catastrophically create everything? Is it my financials and my lack of clarity in them that's not going to give me the right decision that I'm going to make? Is this investment going to be something that blows up in my life? I have to know that those things are dialed in. I have to say that two ways. Protection would say they have to be dialed in. Peace would say I actually have to know that they're dialed in, which are two very distinct differences. And, when I meet with somebody that's under a place of stress or fear or not alignment with their spouse or the other stakeholders in their world, it's impossible to think about deep, great things and where you're going. Your goals are generally going to be very minor. They're going to be 1 year into the future. They're going to be, I want to retire. I don't want to ever have to work again. I want to exit my business. I want to get my kids to be launched into college and for them to be happy and successful people. All those are great goals. But those goals really, really change once you actually have a great sense of peace in your life, where you can say, I think I want to exit my business, but that place in that business is I want to be able to ensure that I exit in a way that stewards and takes care of the people that I'm working with now, that gives me the ability to be able to contribute into society in a healthy and meaningful way, that it gives me the time and freedom back to be able to spend with my spouse and my kids and to be able to help them grow and develop in these very specific ways. It's just hard to think through all those things when you're literally worried about the tax bill that's coming due the next day, or how all of my cash flow is being oriented inside of my world.
David, you know what I found interesting? You know what we should probably do? This might help Cameron. Can you define what can you define what a family office is?
Yeah. Do you need me to spell it too, or should I just define it?
There's a
You know what? Let's be safe to spell it for Cameron. I mean,
there's a PH in there, right?
Family office, OF. Anyways,
Okay.
we can get into the phonetics later, but how I would define it is, put simply, the business of the family. So when you go out into the internet, or I guess the Chat GPT, Gemini, Grok, Copilot, that still is alive today, world, they'll define it all kinds of ways. The running joke in the family office space actually is, if you met a family office, then you've met a family office, meaning they're all different and they all think about it differently. So you've got your more stereotypical family offices, like what Elon Musk or Bill Gates would have. So Bill Gates has a family office named Cascade Investments, largest farm owner in America, deploying capital into tons of alternative assets. But also in Bill Gates' quote unquote family office world is all the management of his private toys, yachts, and other houses, the concierge that actually allows all of those things to be managed and get him from place to place. And so there's a whole lot of complexity in the management of the business of the family for Gates's world. On the other side of the coin, you'll have people go and establish a family office when they've got $10 million of liquidity, and all of a sudden they say to themselves, I can invest into alternative assets. So I need to set up a family office for myself to be able to keep track of and invest into those alternative assets. So you've got one side of the coin that says billionaire, global complexity, lots of moving parts, need an established team, multi-million dollar payroll, to I've got a family office because I'm investing into alternative assets and need better record keeping. You've got wealth managers today and other people out there that are saying, well, just doing personal accounting, keeping track of all the ins and outs in your life is family office. So there's lots of definitions. We view it as business of the family. So for entrepreneurs, they get that because they've got the business of the business, a business of the business that has a vision, has a mission, has values, it has roles and responsibilities, it has processes and systems, it has workflows, it has task assignments, it has initiatives that they're checking and accomplishing, it has a product that they're producing and that they're selling to a specific audience. There's all of these components that you have sitting inside of a business. And what most people don't understand or they haven't thought about visually for themselves is every family has another business as well. They have this business of the family. You've got key stakeholders in the family that should be, probably are, whether it's defined or not, aligned around a mission, a vision, a focus. There's key values, whether defined or not, within a family that are desired to hold that relational continuity and to steward the next generation appropriately. There's things that need to get done for a specific reason. We got to manage our cash flow. We got to deploy capital in a specific way. We've got taxes that we have to file. We've got insurance that we need to buy. We've got goals that we need to document. We've got communication that needs to be had. We've got logistics that needs to be covered. We've got things that we need to buy to be able to make our life go round and round and round. It's actually a business. And also, when you have entrepreneurs and a greater sense of complexity, there's a bigger team of quote unquote employees that don't work for you. So it's really hard. They're like the worst employees on the planet. One, they're not directly on your payroll, so they don't feel like they have to do anything you ask them. And then you don't speak the same language. So like they're the worst employees you could possibly come up with. And that's your CPA. It's your banker. It's your estate planning attorney. It's all these people that they don't feel like they work for you, yet you pay them and you don't speak the same language. But you've got this team that doesn't even know that they work as a part of a team, but should be if they're truly the business. So if you think about it that way, put simply, a family office is the business of the family. And we take it one step further that says, this isn't the business that does all the tax, finance, and legal things. That would be like saying, I'm Chick-fil-A and we are awesome at tax, finance, and legal here. That's not what Chick-fil-A does, right? What's their thing that they, it's my pleasure is kind of their thought.
Yeah.
Is how do we delight our customers by giving them, a chicken sandwich that is going to make their day better. If in my family, we don't delight in the fact that we are great at tax, finance, and legal. We delight in the fact that we have this mission and focus that, our family vision is that we have fun loving God and our neighbors on a consistent cadence. But we do that with a specific value system, with aligning all the things in our life. And so for our families that have the same business, the business of the family isn't about tax, finance, legal. That's just part of the system. The business is actually stewarding those 3 P's: the protection, that peace, and that purpose. And we do that through tax, finance, legal, but we also do that through a whole lot of other things too.
Yeah, maybe you mentioned this, but is there a point at which someone should or consider like a family office? I mean, I think you're painting a picture for a larger vision than just somebody coming in and helping, accounting and those types of things. But is there a metric that you can share with someone and say, hey, when you hit this threshold, you should start to consider this?
Yeah. So our vision as a company is that one day everyone will have a family office. So you're a 22-year-old and you just graduated college and you don't have a dollar to your name and You're excited because it's moving day and the fraternity next door has their couch out there and you think it's really great and you're not place that you're going to try to live in. We're all guilty of that. I believe that individual needs a family office. Now, what's in it? How many people are responsible for it? How much dollars are in motion? What is the complexity and the time commitment? Those are all very different things. But the concept of, does that 22-year-old that's learning how to wear deodorant and trying to grab that couch have a purpose for their life? Are they worthy enough to have a sense of peace? Are there things that they need to do in order to ensure that they have that continuity of peace? Absolutely. Does it require likely some type of system and habits? And there's probably some either piece of technology or individuals in their life to make it run and operate correctly? For sure. The difference is that individual might be able to lead and manage it on their own without any tools and tech, or with something that's very simple. Whereas someone like a Bill Gates, needs hundreds of staff members and lots of third-party advisors with lots of global experience and a ton of payroll to make his world just feel at the same level of peace of that individual. So I believe everyone does. It's just a matter of who's helping you, how is it managed, what's the complexity that you need to address. And I would love to say that us as a company at ARC have solved the spectrum for everybody. We haven't. We have the vision that one day will be easy for everybody. But today we're, really looking at those entrepreneurs. And so I would say for sure, if you're an entrepreneur, you have a family office. It's just a matter of who's leading it. And oftentimes it's no one.
David, what I really enjoyed about just about everything you said, it really wasn't money focused.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a tendency where I go to first, but it seems like this is bigger than just managing money or protection. It's more of finding purpose for the family.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's more timeless in nature, right? I mean, if we go back thousands of years ago, the form of currency was different. When you're on a bartering system, currency matters, but only to the degree that you're in some form of civilization and government society that allows for currency to produce that trade. And in certain places, it's your military that's able to control your land. That is your quote unquote form of money, or it's your cattle that you have that you're moving from place to place, or it's the number of people in your family unit that are able to produce certain things for you. So I would say with the timeless function of that is that through all of society, again, I believe, literally written into our DNA, is this idea that we are literally created for a purpose, that it is only done through a great sense of peace. That's timeless in its sense. And I feel like we lose that today when we forget what is the unto, meaning I want $1 million in my account. Why? Well, I don't know. I just think my life would be better if I had $1 million in my account. If you really dive into the unto what, you might realize, oh, well, actually, I can get to that level of peace. I can get to that place of purpose today. I don't need $1 million in my account to make it happen. It doesn't mean that things aren't easier or better, or that you shouldn't have $1 million in your account. It just means that you might actually waste time and take a longer journey and a harder journey to get there if all we do is focus on money first. Now, obviously, in our society, money allows a lot of things to happen, and it protects us from a lot of things happening to us. So it has an extraordinarily important role in the management of a family office, but I do not believe it is the front and center focus.
Which is great, David. And what? I really respect that. Are all kind of family offices, companies have that similar goal where they're focused on purpose?
No, for sure not.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't.
I would say a lot of family offices, they're laser focused on how do I grow a net worth or a portfolio or make a new investment that's going to, increase my IRR in this space. And those are really important things in a healthy and functioning family office ecosystem. And again, it depends on your level, right? That 22-year-old does not need to invest into alternative assets into their world. Yet I would say that there's a plenty of things that they need to do to manage money well, manage their life well, their goals, their purpose, their peace, and all these other things in their world that are, include money and not. So no, I don't think that's the primary focus. And this is one of the issues I had, when I launched the company. at first I just saw the financial services world, and I saw the disconnectedness from what people were really struggling with and the way that that financial services space was trying to solve for it. But then I jumped into the tax world and the legal world, and I realized a lot of advisors are really good people trying to do really good work, but they're laser focused on their gifting, which is great. But when you've got a individual that doesn't understand that they have their own family office and they're the leader of it, they come in with the wrong um, framework when they engage with a CPA. So, like an easy example of this: if I have a complex enough situation where I need to hire a CPA to manage my taxes, the general consumer comes to that CPA and says, "What do you need from me?" And the CPA gives them a list of things. They provide those list of things. They produce a tax return, and the consumer says, "Is it good?" "Yeah, that's why I produced it this way." And they sign it and they move on. But it's because they view that their relationship there is, I'm being asked to provide to do this tax thing. You're the tax expert. What do you need? I provide, you do it. We're good. It's the wrong frame. If I said, hey, I'm the leader of the business of my family, this employee known as a CPA is a critical function to help me on this thing. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. When I ask the CPA to assist me, what do you need from me? Cool. Let me tell you other things that are happening in my life. Let me tell you what I'm really trying to accomplish, where I'm going, what that looks like. They convey that into what is called a tax return, which is their best understanding of the story of your life represented in government tax documents, of which then me as the leader should read that and say, yeah, you understood my story correctly. Or no, you didn't understand my story correctly. Let's talk through this because I'm the leader of you. And I don't expect you to be living with webcams inside my house, knowing everything that's going on. So it's my responsibility to ensure that you're fully caught up and in lockstep with me, since you're a great partner in that space. And so if we have that framing, it creates a more level, it creates a more extreme level of ownership that then produces better outcomes. And, sidebar on this, most people are always like, I need more money. So they want to pay less in tax. And those are great and noteworthy things. And there's easy ways to really move the tax bill down, especially the more taxes you have, the easier it is to slash it. I will tell you the number one way to move your tax bill down is know how to read your own tax return. Literally, I would say 99 out of 100 returns I receive, all I have to do is read them, find errors, mistakes, mismatched to their own world, or just general know-hows of what things are supposed to be connected to one another. And 99 out of 100 returns will have something that just by reading the return and fixing it or aligning it to their world will provide more results than going and trying to buy some tax strategy off a shelf, which those can be helpful and valuable as well. But just learning how to read a return and matching it to your story, just slashes tax bills.
Well, I tell you, David, you brought up some great concepts there. One was we often think, well, I see people, they rely too much on their CPA, and they just assume the CPA is doing everything and knows everything. And even when I did had my CPA firm, I'd want to go over it with them. Most people just, where do I sign? How much money do I owe? And that's really what it was all about. I really like your concept of you being the leader of the family, and your CPA is an employee, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they provide all the information. Oftentimes, we just reactively wait for them to ask for information. I also see people, I feel, rely on their CPA on skills that are not their gifts.
Yes.
Like, I was talking with one guy in regards to doing a syndication. Like, how are you doing your due diligence? He's like, well, I have my CPA do it. And I'm like, well, what's his expertise in syndications? Does he know the due diligence? And I don't know how many times when we present infinite banking, people say, well, let me have my CPA look at it.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts when people are relying on one individual for things that are not their gifts?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, if you're a business owner, you get it, right? When you go in, uh, before you go and you hire an employee, you don't just, walk across the street and you say, "Oh, you look like a cool person. Why not? And you've got a designation that's interesting. Come work for me." You have a need organizationally, right? I have something that needs to get solved in my world, and I know the type of profile. I'm going to put together a job ad. I'm going to go put together a job description. I'm going to go and put together KRA and KPIs in order to make sure that that person's held accountable and succeeding in an appropriate way. It's the exact same thing in your tax world. A CPA is not simply anybody with a CPA is not necessarily just a fit in your world. It would be like saying any person could fit any role in your organization. It just doesn't work. And the designation doesn't cover the whole world. And a CPA would agree with you if you said to them. There's things that they're great at and there's things that they're not. Here's the biggest misnomer I generally find is that most people think the CPA's job is to help you pay the least amount in tax. That is not their job. They don't even view it as their job. If you ask them that, they would say it's not their job. They would say their job is to ensure that you actually report all of your tax compliance documents appropriately relative to what happened inside of your world, to prevent you from receiving audits, to ensure that you're paying the right amount in tax, not the right least amount in tax. In fact, here, I'll give you a live example from just 2 days ago. I was meeting with a group of people. A CPA showed up in there. This other advisor had brought the CPA that worked with him and was like, "Hey, I've got this great CPA I want you to introduce." And he was good. He was a great guy. I'll probably send him lots of clients to work with. But one of the things he just shot me this long text thread back just 2 days ago. I'll pull out a piece of it in here that says, "I enjoyed our conversation. I would love to spend a bit more time picking your brain on the tax strategy side. I myself don't just have 30 tax strategies that I just can pull off on the tip of my tongue and be able to make that happen. You mentioned the academy and the possibility of being able to work alongside that and learning different tax strategies to be able to help me with my clients." And then at the end saying, "Do you have any favorite books or podcasts that you would recommend for me to get spun up on advanced tax strategies for my clients?" Uh, that's from a CPA that does good work that I would refer to. But that's the biggest misnomer, is that because we're not willing to ask the hard questions like we would in an interview when we're interviewing an employee, we end up making assumptions that says, we don't speak the same language, so I feel insecure to ask the hard questions, and so I'm just assuming that I'm going to get the best outcome. And that's not what a leader does. A leader can go and hire smarter people than in a specific field that they need, because they're willing to ask hard questions and hold accountability towards the things that they're trying to achieve in their life. So if it's syndications, it's the same thing. I know syndications well, so I'm going to ask really good questions around syndications and ensure that that CPA has the experience, has done it for a lot of other people, that this isn't, has something that they're comfortable with on an ongoing basis for me. And one other thing I would say on that, CPAs, attorneys, etc., very few advisors are going to be the advisors you need for your whole life. Very few. It's the same with employees. Very few employees you have are going to work with you for 30, 40, 50 years. Everybody has a season of which they're called into that place to be able to do good work in a good way, and they're a great fit for that season of their life. And then they outgrow it, or you outgrow them, or things just don't work anymore. And so you should just not assume, I found a great advisor today, and now my assumption is that they are going to be great forever. Their business model might match today and it won't match later. And with entrepreneurs, it happens all the time. They're a great fit when they were making 100 grand a year. They're an okay fit when they're making 500 grand a year. The terrible fit when they're making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year, yet they continue that person because they like them, or they have a good relationship with them, or they just don't want the time, energy, or conflict with having to do something different.
David, one thing you also mentioned is the importance of reading the tax return.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've been working actually with you guys, which we're calling the tax intensive.
That's right.
Can you tell us what people can learn and the value of going through that tax intensive?
Yeah. So we've done a handful of them. Sometimes they're at really fun locations, lake houses. We get to know each other, make new friends, have a good time, bring in private chefs and all of that. That's just, checking the box on that community piece of peace. But whether it's at a super fun location or it's at an office space, the content related to that at these tax intensives is really twofold. It's how do we equip everybody in that group to learn how to read their tax return? And most people are like, I'll never show up to that. It's going to be way too boring and I'll never figure it out. I can tell you we have a 100% success rate and it's actually really fun. We have a good time with it and no one sits there and falls asleep in the back. But you can literally walk out of the room knowing how to read a tax return. The tax return is actually much more logical than people think. Usually there's about 50 pages. It's either anywhere between like 3 to 50 pages of absolute trash at the beginning of a tax return that you don't even need to ever know. You just throw that part in the trash. Then there's one page that you start at. We can teach you how to read that within about an hour or so, and you'll quickly be able to understand what every box is, what every number is, and what it should be relative to your world. And just knowing how to read those 2 pages generally save a ton of money. So, like at the last test of what we did is everybody brought their own tax return. They all sign NDAs ahead of time, and we'll literally go around room person by person, put up their tax return on the screen, and then we equip that individual to learn how to read their own return and make their own insights. While we're doing that, they're both getting 2 things. One, they're learning how to read a return. Everybody else in the group is learning how to read a return. And then we have our advisory team there that's also equipping them with tax strategies along the way that says, hey, well, let me ask you a question about this. Maybe you should consider X, Y, Z. And we'll take a minute and say, all right, we're going to introduce a strategy here that would be helpful for you. Let's go sidebar and teach the group on this strategy that likely applies to the room at large. So when we did the class intensive, I don't remember what people paid to get there. What I do know is that probably the average person walked away with tens of thousands of dollars of tax savings. And I think one person even hundreds of thousands of dollars tax savings. So to be able to go somewhere, have a good time, make some new friends, and be equipped in a way that's going to be able to lead your family office better, let alone walk home with a pile of cash, is generally fun for everybody.
David, you also mentioned an academy in the exchange with that CPA that you referenced earlier. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's a fun story. Our firm has been passionate for years now around building these family offices for entrepreneurs that have north of or well north of $1 million of profit. And we've created this whole white glove service that doesn't make them have to go figure out how to be the leader of their family office. We'll come in, make it happen. But along the way, one of our clients there said, hey, David, I've got these, they run a large coaching organization specifically in the auto repair industry of all places. And they said, hey, for my 2,000 members, I want you to do this family office management for all of them. And we're like, no, that's impossible. It's not do it. They don't have enough income. They never will, et cetera, et cetera. And boy, was I wrong there. So many of them are studs, just crushing it today and are actually clients in the family office. But what came out of that conversation was, well, you need to figure out a way to solve it. Your vision is that one day everyone's going to have a family office. If all you do is for this one specific segment, you're not accomplishing your vision. That hit home for me. And so what we ended up creating was with this academy that you just mentioned, Cameron, which is instead of a done for you model or a white glove model, which we do in our family office, we actually created a DIY and done with you model, where on one end, you can just receive access to education, tools and resources, a trusted advisor network, a community of others that are doing the same thing. And on the other end, even receive one-on-one coaching at various different levels to be able to help guide and steer you while you're still the leader of that family office, to be able to, not get trapped in the wrong way, hire the wrong advisors in your world, not figure out, what tools, tech are helpful or needed. So it's a low entry way to be able to get guidance that people need, to move the needle in the right way.
Yeah, what kind of qualifiers are there for the academy? Do I need to be at a certain revenue amount, net worth?
Yeah,
What
I
is
would
that?
say today we've finally built out enough of it where I think from a price point perspective, I mean, I think literally we have this thing called Foundation Series, which is $99 one time. So, I mean, if you're at $100,000 of income and you're saying, hey, I really need to put most of my time and energy into building my business to increase my profits, I 100% agree. I do not think that you should sign up for anything that's going to take away time for that. However, there's probably some just very basic blocking and tackling that could be helpful in your life. And so that foundation series, picking that up and spending a couple hours going through that, and then making a few different adjustments when it comes, to a few different dials in your life, probably tax specifically, would be really helpful. But then once you're at, say, north of about $250,000 in profit, then it starts to make sense to start onboarding into different other areas of the academy program. And north, I would say, of about 400,000, I would encourage people to start getting a coach and really making faster progress.
David, where would you say that infinite banking fits into your overall approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, cash flow is a huge part and be able to make things happen. So if you think about like our human body, we've got this incredible circulatory system with this heart in the middle that's just pumping blood to all of our different limbs and things so that we can have fingers that move and toes that move and other things that, are fun for our body to be able to go and accomplish. Like for Cameron, I'm sure like when that blood pumps well, he's bench pressing at least 30 pounds. But sorry, Cameron. But
35.
cash flow, 35 pounds. Okay.
I
got it.
can get the bar up, David. Come on now.
All right. That female bar is moving quickly.
Cameron does work out at a female gym. That's been well documented in the podcast.
So cash flow is the same way. It's like that blood in our arteries and our circulatory system. If it doesn't move to the right places, we don't bring life to the action of the areas inside of our world. And so we teach this entire concept in our family office around the cash flow foundation and this 4-box framework where we've got active income from our operating businesses. We've got passive income from our essentially other businesses we don't own, we don't manage. Those could be, specific investments, alternatives, etc. We've got our lifestyle that actually produces life for us. And we've got legacy, which is dollars that move in motion for somebody else's life for benefit, whether that's an individual, an institution, a community, an impact, etc. So you got these 4-box frameworks. In the middle of this, we call the family office account, which could be a savings account, it could be a checking account, it could be an IBC policy, it could be many different things, but it's essentially the hub of that cash flow system that says, as cash is generated from your world, it moves into this one hub. And from there, you make strategic decisions on a specific cadence, not, I've got an idea today, let's do something. That's a terrible way to make cash flow decisions, but on a regular cadence, going through a process, you're making strategic decisions, and then those dollars get deployed or scheduled appropriately. You hold appropriate reserves like you would in a business, you create appropriate schedules, you make sure that dollars are all deployed appropriately. One thing I tell people all the time, every dollar in your life needs a purpose. You don't want purposeless dollars. It's okay to have dollars sit in cash. It's okay to have dollars not lent from your insurance policy, so long as that's the purpose and that was the intention. We just don't want purposeless dollars. So when you set up a strong cash flow foundation, you can actually put every single dollar to have a purpose in your life. Like if you ever watch Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary's always talking about dollars as if they're troops in his life that he deploys in a very specific way. I love that analogy. I like the idea of I've got an army of cash or an army of quote unquote capital that everybody has a role, responsibility, and a purpose right now, even if that means you're just in the National Guard and haven't been called up.
Okay, great, Dave. That was some amazing information. Now, the listeners, if today opened your eyes to the fact that you're already running a family office, whether you meant to or not, here's how to take the first step without being worth $50 million. Step 1 is to build a system to automate turning your active income into passive income. You can do that by watching our PIOS webinar. That's Infinite Wealth Consultants /PIOS, PIOS. Then step 2, if you need to build your income and cash flow, schedule a call with us when we're map out infinite banking and passive income that fits into your stage. Then step 3, if you already have complexity and you're ready for a true quarterback or want to explore ARC's model, reach out to their team and begin the discovery process. You do not get compounding, peace, or legacy by accident. You get it because you decide to lead it. And we will see you on the next episode. David, thank you for coming. Some great information. Any last words of wisdom you want to leave us with?
I don't think so. It was a pleasure to be here with you guys. I enjoyed it.
It was great. I really like, it's not about the money, it's more of the purpose. That was really good. Thank you, David.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not constitute financial advice. Always consult a licensed professional for professional decisions. Thanks for listening to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations on building wealth and creating passive income.
You can learn more about infinite banking and get additional resources at infinitewealthconsultants.com. Until next time, keep investing with intention, and remember, your financial freedom is within reach.